Hi, this is John Adams, and this is FDMA 1120 Desktop Publishing, and this assignment is event advertising. So most of you have already completed the Dynamics of Design layouts, and you can see the previews of them in here. And we will be referring back to those quite often, but the next thing we need to do for your assignment is to create an ad for an event. Now you're going to be able to choose the event that you want. There is a list of event suggestions like the White Sands Balloon and Music Festival, any music festival at all, art and wine festivals, jazz festivals, brew at the zoo, Earth Day, and things like that. So those are just some suggestions that are in the Canvas website for this class. But the first thing you need to do is start learning how to lay out an ad itself and get it started. So when I open this up, I have a preset format that's already here, and you can see I have letter, iPad, web, and so on. So we can just go to new file and open, or you can just go and open a preset format. Now, we don't really want this preset format for this ad, so we want a new file. So I'm going to go ahead and create a new file on here, and since I'm using two screens, it showed up on the other screen, but this is what it looks like when you first open it. So we need to know how to set up your ad. The first thing you want to do is we're going to go to the tabs at the top, and you can see we have recent, so it saves the recent formats if you already created saved formats, which I have one default format that I saved so far, and then print format and web and mobile. So you can see web and mobile. There's also some templates down at the bottom. So we're going to use print because this is a print ad. So, and then you can name this. I would go ahead and title it. I'm going to say John's ad, or I'll say event. How about event ad? Okay. And if we do that, we also need to set the units. So right now it's set in picas, so that's a normal default setting for InDesign. So InDesign sets that as a default setting, and we don't want to use that. So we're going to go ahead and use inches and just switch it to inches. The next thing you see is the settings here. Now for your page layout that I have set on here, for the event advertising, typically most pages that are created for advertising purposes are not 8.5 by 11, even though that's a standard page size. It's not a standard page size for advertising, but something very close to that is that 8.25 by 10.5 is more of a typical advertising page size. So we're going to go and set this to 8.25, and then we're going to set it to 10.5 on here. So you can just type in 10.5, okay? The next thing we want to do is we want it to be portrait. Pages, we do not want to have page facing pages because we're going to, we don't need facing pages on a single page layout, but we will have multiple pages. So uncheck that box, go ahead and go to pages and set that to 3, because we're going to have 3 pages altogether. Columns, we don't need to worry about this, so we're going to be doing custom design, so you don't really need a column setup, so we're just going to leave it at this default setting. The margins we do need to set, and those should be set to 0.25, and that's, if this is locked, if you hit the tab key, it'll fill in all the rest of these for you. So you can go ahead and set that at 0.25. That's just a margin so you don't go over the edge or too close to the edge. Bleeds and slug. So we are going to set a bleed setting. A bleed setting is for photographs that you have on your image that go all the way out to the edge. They actually have to go over the edge in order to print properly, so, and get cropped to the right size. So what we need to do is we're going to set this to the setting that we have on the layout, which is 0.125, and then go ahead and hit the tab key, and then it'll put those all in as long as you have this locked. If this is unlocked, it looks like this. Looks locked, it looks like that. Don't have to worry about slug. You can do a preview if you want to. It'll just give you a preview image, and you can see kind of what it looks like, but it's basically behind here. And if you can do this, you can see what it looks like. I have my other page layouts on here, and I can't do anything until I say OK. So I'm going to go ahead and create. Okay, so now I have, in the pages, I have 3 pages set up, and then I have paragraph styles and all that. I'm going to take that off for now because we're not going to need it. And I'll close the character styles and paragraph styles. I had this open when I was working on another project. So if you move your panels around, that you can save those, or they'll just come back up for you so you can reuse your workspace. So let's get started on laying this out. So the first thing that you see this little line right here. This is the margin that I set up, and that's 1/4 inch from the edge. This line out here is the bleed line, so you can see it has to go off the edge of the page if you have a photo that you want to go to the edge, in order for there to be enough space for it to be cropped off as if it went to a publication or a printer or so on and so forth. So the first thing that you want to do is we want to choose a actual project or event. So I'm going to go ahead and choose the White Sands Balloon and Music Festival. So I'm going to go ahead and use that. So you can either create a type space and type it in, or you can copy text from a Word document or any other document actually. So if we go to our type tool, what I'm going to do is go ahead and select the type tool, and then you can see I have the cursor for this. Now you can't just start typing, you have to create a space for your type to go into. So in order to do this, and I think you've got used to using this when you were doing the dynamics of design, is to click and drag a space for your type. Now I already copied some in here, so I'm going to just go under edit and paste, and that's the name I took out of the class desktop publishing website. So when I put it in here, it just saved the same size and font and everything. So if I select the type and I go click on properties, you can see in here, you can see it's Minion Pro, and is the font. It's regular. It's 12 points. The leading is a space between the lines. There's no lines of text on here. If I broke it into 2 lines, and if I hit a return and pasted that again, that would be the leading. So if I adjusted the leading on here, I can increase that, which would give more space in between the lines, or not. Or you can go in here and go to auto, and auto sets it based on the type font size and the type font itself. So I'm going to go back and delete this out just by hitting the delete key. Okay, and I accidentally deleted the L. But so I want to make this bigger. So you have a couple choices. You can go in here and select it this way and increase the point size by going in here like that. That's my favorite way. Or if you want to do the old-fashioned way, like Microsoft Word ways, you have to select the whole type line of text and then increase it this way. So it's a lot easier to do it this way because you see it as you're going along. The other thing, I don't know if I want this to be aligned left or aligned right, but as you guys remember, we can do that with keyboard shortcuts. So the keyboard shortcuts are Command-Shift-L for align left, Command-Shift-C for center, and Command-Shift-Right, or R for right. So the same thing goes for Windows. It would be Control-Shift-L, Control-Shift-C, Control-Shift-R. So I'm going to go ahead and center it, Command-Shift-C for center. And I'm going to make this type font a lot bigger. So let's go ahead and pick a larger type font, and then it will break onto 2 lines or more, so you can see, and it automatically will position itself on the next line. Now if you don't have enough space for it when you create your text box, this will happen, and you'll have this little outbox right here, and that means there's excess type below this. So you either have to open your window up to show your text, or you can thread your text by going to the outbox here and opening up, clicking on it, and it'll add that text to another text box. But we don't want to do that. So we're going to go ahead and leave it like this. I'm going to go ahead and take out the space in here because that's too much. So I want to make it less leading between, and it is called leading. So leading has to do with the spacing between the lines. So, and if you want to, you can double click on the box here and it'll shrink the box down to the size you want. I like leaving it out to the guides just when I'm working because it makes it easy. It centers everything and keeps it that way. So, and then you can go ahead and reduce the bottom of the box if you want to. So that's what we picked. So the next thing we need to do is we need to find some photographs. So over here on the left hand side, you can see in the toolbox there's a little box actually right here, rectangle frame tool, and the frame tool with the X in it stands for the one for photographs or images to go into. The one here, which I had it on ellipse, typically it always has the rectangle tool in here, but it also has ellipse tool and polygon tool, which you guys know from the other assignment. The rectangle tool also has those too, the different shapes if you want to. But for this, I may want to just bring over a photograph. So let's go ahead and create a space for the photograph first, and you'll see it always has that X through it. So that means that it's supposed to be there for a photograph and not anything else. The other box over here is for graphics, and so it will not have an X through it. And when you go to fill it, if you fill it with a color, they'll both of those will fill. But what will happen is that when the photograph goes, or when we put a photograph in there, it will just override the fill color, basically. So you don't really need that. All right, so I'm going to pull this off to the side. And if you have this in the layout mode, which is down here in the bottom, you can see it's normal mode. You'll see all your guides and see your bleed marks and your margins and so on. If you put it in the preview mode, you won't see anything. You won't see anything on your copy block over on the left hand side, your layout area. So I would suggest that you go here and just go ahead and use normal. Now the one caveat on this, which I told you about previously, was that the W key toggles back and forth. So that's the easiest way to flip back and forth from preview mode and design layout mode. All right, so I have a box in here and I want to put a photograph in it. So I'm going to go to File and go File, Place right here. And my dialog box comes up and it asks me where that information is. So I'm going to go to my desktop. I have a lot of files on here, so bear with me. It'd be on my document, sorry. It should be right here, and then I have advertising project, and in here I have photos. So you have to know where your photos are, and you should keep your photos in your ad layout if you can. Then you can find everything easier. Plus, you're going to need to keep it together anyway, otherwise it will lose track of it. There is another way of keeping all those parts and pieces together, and I'll explain that to you later. But let's go ahead. I'm going to take a look at a few photos in here, and let's take one. Let's just take this one, for example. I'm going to go ahead and open it. Okay, and it opens in here, but I can't really see it. How come? Well, if I click on this little bullet in the middle, it'll show you that this image is a lot bigger than the actual layout is, and you can see these little brown box outline here. Let's move this over because it's in the way, but see this little box that goes around here, that's the photo area. So if I put my cursor in here, I can move around and move it inside that photograph, but I'm not seeing the whole thing. So what I want to do is I want to size it. So I can go to the side and size it, or I can go to the object, transform, and scale. I can do it that way. But one of the easiest ways is to make sure that you select your window first. This is the window for it. This is the actual photograph. So if you click on it, you want to make sure that you click on the actual window for it. You can expand that window out if you want to and see more of your photo, or you can make it, you can tell it to fit to that size. So for this, I'm just going to go ahead and expand this And you can see it doesn't fill in all the space in here because I have a lot at the bottom. So if I click in here, I can move this photograph up. I'm holding the mouse key down. That's why you can see it. If you click and drag too fast, you won't be able to see anything in here. So if you click and hold down for a second, then you can see the image. And you can see I have, it's nice to see the people in there, and I still may want to size this down a little bit because it's too large. So what I can do is go ahead and hold the command key down and shift and drag it down in the corner, just like we did with our type in our Dynamics of Design project. Now, this might not have been adjusted in Photoshop ahead of time, but typically that's what we do, is we'll make adjustments to it ahead of time. And let's see our window. Let's make sure our window's big enough. Let's go ahead. And for this, it looks like it's plenty big enough. It's just that the image doesn't go all the way to the top. So we just need to drag it. And then the other thing is it's in front of our type. So you can go to Object, Arrange, Send to Back, and then our type comes up. The other thing is if you wanted to size to the actual size of the picture, just double click on the corner, the anchor on the corner, and it'll do that. So if I want that up there, it's fine, but what if I might want this to go down. I want the type to be at the top and the photo to go below it. Something like that. I'm just using my down arrow key to do this. So there I have a somewhat nice layout. And then if I hit the W, I can see what it looks like without all the guides on it. It doesn't look too bad. It needs some work. So if I wanted to bring in some more photographs, there's a few different ways of doing this. So what I can do, if I wanted to create a series of images down here, say I have a few images that I want to add to it, I can create another window, and I'm going to use the Option key and create a duplicate of this, a few duplicates. I'm just using the Option key and Shift, and say I want to have 2 or 3 pictures, and I want them to be somewhat centered. There's the center mark, and I want them down at the bottom, or I want them to go up a little bit closer. There's my photo area. So I'll click away from that, and then what I want to do is I want to add those photos in here. And so what I can do, even though they're not even selected, make sure there's nothing else selected when you do this, but you can go in here and go to Place, and I can pick a few images. Say here's one, that's the one we just used. Let's use that one. I'm going to go ahead and hold the command key down on that one. Well, let's mark it first. I want to make sure that's the one I want. That one, I don't know. Those are good. I kind of want them to be more like this because of the fact that I need them to be more portrait for this. But I can crop in. So like on this, I could crop in on that if I wanted to. Let's go ahead and see what else I have here. That's a good one too. So let's go ahead and I'll just mark this. Now, I marked it with a little dot, which you can right click and change on Mac. So I'm going to go ahead and select this by clicking on it and highlighting it, holding the command key down and clicking on the other one and this one. So I want 3 images. I'm going to say open and see it loads all those pictures in here. So what I'm going to do is I'll go ahead and click 1, 2, and 3. And it puts them right into those images. Now, right now, they don't fit properly. So what I can do is select all 3 of those and go under Object, Fit Content Proportionally. So they don't fit exactly. Let's take a look. So we can go to Fit, Fill Frame Proportionally. So that one will just fill the whole frame. Then I can go in here and I can make changes to this layout if I want to. And you can see I'm moving around in here. Here's the layout. And you can see here's the picture. So you can see the picture can go up by clicking on the center or down, however you want. Down doesn't work very well. But let's move it up there. Let's see this one. That's pretty much fits height-wise. Let's see this one. I think this one's going to fit pretty much height-wise. We can move it sideways a little bit if we want to. So let's go ahead and stop right there, and then we'll come back and put a logo in here and do some other graphics and show you how to create a few different ad layouts.